The ground heaved, bodies clawing upward. Corpses dragged themselves free, mud sloughing from bone and rags. Their mouths opened wide, shrieking without sound. Hands grasped at him, pulling, tearing. Henry screamed. He slashed with the bayonet, stabbing, ripping. Black ichor spattered his face. Fingers clawed his arms, his throat. He tore free, stumbling down the other side of the crater. When he looked back, the bed was gone. Only water filled the hole, rippling darkly. Hours passed. Or days. Time dissolved in the wasteland. Henry wandered through Shellfire's aftermath, stepping over corpses that twitched as though still alive. Rats scurried fat across bellies, gnawing. The sky never changed, always a flat, grey shroud. Sometimes he heard voices behind him, men calling, boots splashing, but when he turned, nothing was there. Sometimes he thought he saw Margaret, walking just ahead, her dress white and clean despite the mud. But when he ran to her, she vanished into smoke. His stomach was cramped with hunger. His lips cracked with thirst. He knelt once at a pool of water, but the reflection staring back was not his own, it was pale, sunken, a corpse's grin. He staggered away, retching. The whispers never left him. Henry! Henry! Wake up! At first it was Margaret alone. Then others joined, voices he didn't know, deep and cold, murmuring in tones like doctors. He's slipping. No response to stimuli. Prepare the family. Henry clutched his head, rocking in the mud. I'm not gone. I'm here. I'm still here. But the voices only whispered, steady, relentless. Night fell, though the sky never truly darkened. Fog rolled across no man's land, thick as smoke. Shapes moved within it. At first Henry thought they were Germans, creeping low. He raised his bayonet, trembling. But as they drew near, he saw their faces, half-rotted, skulls grinning, eyes crawling with worms. They shuffled in silence, hundreds of them, crossing the wasteland like a tide. Henry dropped to his knees, heart hammering. They passed him by, their stench choking, their bodies brushing his shoulders. None looked at him. He realized, with horror, that he was moving with them. His legs carried him forward, step by step, in line with the dead. He tried to stop, but the mud pulled him, dragged him, forced him on. Ahead, through the fog, lights glowed, white, sharp, sterile. A building rose, tall and square. Windows shone bright. Inside, figures moved, masked and gowned. A hospital. Henry's throat closed. The dead pressed on, shuffling toward the light. Their mouths moved, all whispering in unison. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! He broke free, stumbling, falling to his knees. The dead kept moving, marching past, endless. Henry wept into his hands. His body ached, his mind fractured. He didn't know which world was real, mud or white walls, corpses or doctors. He only knew Margaret's voice, calling, begging. He wanted to reach her. But the way was barred by the dead. He raised the bayonet, teeth clenched, and staggered to his feet. I'll fight them, he rasped. I'll fight them all. And then I'll wake. The fog thickened, swallowing him whole. Chapter 8, The Fading Line. Henry woke to thunder. Not shells this time. Not the scream of iron. This was slower, heavier, a heartbeat thudding through the mud itself. He lay sprawled in a crater, rain pelting his face. His chest heaved, every breath fire. His hands clutched the bayonet still, though the blade was notched and caked with filth. His body was wasting, skin gray, lips cracked. Around him, the ground trembled. Shapes rose from the muck, one by one, dragging themselves upright. Not just corpses this time. Not soldiers. Something worse. They wore white coats. Their faces were blurred behind masks. Their hands gloved, dripping red. Doctors. Henry's throat closed. He scrambled back, slipping. The crater filled with them, figures looming tall, bending toward him with long, reaching hands. Their voices rolled together in a low drone. Non-responsive. Severe trauma. Failing respiration. No return. He screamed, stabbing wildly. The bayonet tore through coats, through ribs, but the figures did not fall. They pressed closer, hands gripping, pulling him down into the mud. Time of death, one murmured, voice flat. No. Henry shrieked. I'm not gone. I'm not gone. The mud closed over his head. When he opened his eyes again, light blinded him. White walls. Clean air. Beeping machines. He lay in a bed. His chest rose and fell weakly. Tubes pierced his arms. His lips cracked, whispering. Margaret sat beside him, her hands gripping his tight. Her eyes burned red with sleeplessness. Please, Henry, she whispered. Please, don't leave me. Just wake up. Her hand squeezed, warm, alive. He wanted to answer. He tried. But the words caught in his throat, swallowed by static. His head swam. And then the walls cracked. Tile split into sandbags. The bed sagged into mud. The machines bled into barbed wire, monitors shrieking like shells. Margaret's face smeared into shadow. The hospital was gone. He was back in the wasteland. The dead marched past him, endless, their whispers filling the fog. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Henry stumbled after them, his body weak, his mind tearing apart. He no longer knew if he walked or crawled. The ground shifted beneath him, sometimes wood, sometimes tile, sometimes mud. He saw faces in every shadow, Davies, pale and slack-jawed. Miller, eyes wide, blood bubbling. The men he'd killed, the men he'd left. They all stared, silent, accusing. I didn't mean to, he croaked. You weren't real. None of you were real. But the faces never changed. At the edge of the wasteland, Henry found a door. It stood alone, upright in the mud, tall and white. A hospital door, gleaming clean against the ruin. From behind it came light, sharp and bright. He heard voices, Margaret's above all, calling his name, begging him to come through. His knees buckled. He crawled to it, bayonet dragging behind. His fingers smeared blood on the handle. Margaret, he whispered. The door pulsed beneath his touch. Then the dead closed in. Dozens of them, hundreds, rising from the muck, their bodies twisted, jaws broken, eyes hollow. They swarmed around the door, clawing, grasping, their whispers rising into a scream. Stay. 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 Henry staggered to his feet, raising the bayonet. His chest heaved, tears cutting through mud on his face. I'm not staying, he rasped. I'm not yours. The dead lunged. He fought. Bayonet flashing, stabbing, ripping. His arms burned, his legs buckled, but he fought. The dead clawed his flesh, tore his clothes, dragged him down. He roared, stabbing upward, again and again, his throat raw with fury. Margaret, he screamed. Don't let me go. The door burst open. Light seared him. Cold, white, blinding. The hospital world poured through, drowning the mud, washing the corpses away. He staggered, reaching, falling forward, and felt hands catch him. Margaret's hands. Warm, trembling, real. Her face filled his vision, blurred with tears. "You can't leave me, Henry," she whispered. "Not yet. Please, fight." He tried to answer. His lips cracked. His eyes rolled back. The light flickered. The mud surged again. The dead screamed. The two worlds tore at him, pulling, ripping. One toward the trench. One toward the hospital. Henry convulsed, screaming, as the line between them shattered. He woke up sprawled in the mud again. The door was gone. The light was gone. Only darkness stretched, endless. And yet, faint, steady, just at the edge of hearing. Beep. 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 The sound of his own heart. Chapter 9, The Last Wake. Henry lay still. The mud was cold against his cheek. His body ached with every breath. His fingers trembled around the bayonet, though it felt more like a splinter than a weapon now. He had nothing left. No comrades. No trench. No enemy. Only Margaret's voice, faint as a candle guttering in a storm. "Wake up, Henry." The world around him was silent. Even the dead had vanished. Only the fog remained, a heavy, pressing, swallowing sound. He rolled onto his back, staring up at the sky. Grey, blank, endless. He felt himself sinking into it, as though the earth were pulling him down. His eyes drifted shut. And then he heard it, steady, mechanical. Beep. 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 He sat up, gasping. The fog thinned, and light broke through, not firelight, not flares, but white, clean, sharp. A hospital ceiling. The mud dissolved into sheets. The bayonet slipped from his hand and clattered against the tile. His body was thin, wrapped in a gown. Tubes tethered his arms. Machines loomed at his sides, their screens glowing. And Margaret sat beside him. Her hands clutched his. Her eyes were swollen from weeping, her lips cracked from prayer. She whispered his name over and over. "Henry. Henry. Henry." Her voice was the same as when they were children, when she called him back from his sulks, from his tempers, from his fears. It anchored him. He tried to answer. His throat rasped, a dry croak. His tongue felt heavy. But her eyes lit, hoping to break through exhaustion. "Henry? Can you hear me?" He swallowed, forcing air through his cracked lips. Margaret. Her sob broke free, raw, violent, unstoppable. She pressed her forehead to his hand, clutching as though she could tether him to the world. "You came back," she whispered. "I knew you would. I knew." But the war wasn't finished with him. As he blinked, the walls shifted. The machines shrieked like shells. The white ceiling cracked into boards and sandbags. The bed sagged into mud. Margaret's tears blurred into blood. The trench swallowed him again. Davy stood before him, his face pale, half caved in. Miller loomed behind, knife glinting, cheek torn and bleeding. And all around, the dead pressed close, whispering his name. "You killed us," they hissed. "You left us here." Henry staggered back, his bare feet sinking in muck. He shook his head wildly. "You weren't real. None of you were real." But the dead surged forward. Hands clutched him, dragged him down, their mouths opening wide to swallow him whole. He screamed Margaret's name. And light split the sky. He was back in the bed, gasping, drenched in sweat. His chest heaved, monitors screaming. Doctors rushed in, shouting commands. Pulse spiking. He's conscious. Stabilize him, keep him steady. Henry thrashed, eyes wide, seeing both worlds at once, the trench and the hospital, the dead and the doctors, the mud and the white sheets. His body burned, torn between them. Margaret's voice cut through the chaos. "Henry! Look at me! Just me!" He forced his gaze to hers. Her eyes, green, wet, alive, anchored him. He clung to them like a rope. "Don't go back," she whispered. "Stay with me. Please." The trench roared behind her. The dead screamed. But Henry held on to her voice, her face, her warmth. And slowly, painfully, the mud receded. The whispers faded. The dead dissolved. Only Margaret remained. Time passed. He didn't know how long. Hours, days, weeks. He drifted in and out, the hospital world sometimes shaking, sometimes fading, but never gone completely. Margaret was always there. One morning, he opened his eyes and found her asleep in the chair beside him, her hand still holding his. Sunlight streamed through the window. No fog. No mud. No dead. For the first time, he let himself believe. But he would never forget. When he closed his eyes at night, he still heard them, the voices of Davies, Miller, the countless dead who walked the wasteland. They lingered in the corners of his dreams, whispering, accusing. He knew they would never truly leave him. The war was over, they said. But not for Henry. Never for Henry. And when he woke each morning, his first words were always the same, whispered hoarse into Margaret's ear, as though to remind himself it was real. "I'm awake."